Voices from the edge of the universe whispered our names. The stars had been silent for centuries. Humanity had long stopped looking up, their cities too bright, their hearts too heavy. But somewhere beyond the noise of dying worlds and broken promises, a signal stirred, a soft vibration that trembled through the void, carrying something more than words. It was a whisper, faint and ancient, that called not to machines, but to souls. Dr. Elara Voss was the first to hear it. She sat alone in the observatory dome on the edge of the Martian Plateau, surrounded by the hum of scanners and the low thrum of the wind outside. For 12 years, she had searched the skies for anomalies. Not alien messages, not strange civilizations, but patterns, something that proved the universe still had intention. When the signal arrived, it was not through her instruments, but through the silence between them. It came like a sigh across time, and it said her name, Elara. She froze, her fingers hovering above the control board. For a long moment, she thought she was hallucinating, exhaustion playing tricks on her mind. But the whisper came again, clearer this time, wrapped in static that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Elara Voss, you are not alone. Her breath caught. The computer beside her flickered, its light dimming, and the stars above seemed to shimmer brighter, as if something vast and unseen was turning its gaze toward her. She pressed the recorder. Mission log 2487. Unidentified transmission received. Frequency unknown. Origin, possibly extragalactic. Her voice trembled. Message appears to contain phonetic identification. My name. The whisper faded, leaving behind only the quiet hum of the machines. She didn't sleep that night. By the following morning, the research outpost buzzed with speculation. The crew of 9 scientists gathered around the central monitor, where Elara replayed the signal. Most of them laughed nervously. Some dismissed it as a glitch, a feedback loop, or a prank sent by one of the Earth's satellites. But her assistant, Kale, didn't. Kale was younger, curious, and far more daring in thought. That's no random wave, he said quietly. There's structure beneath it, harmonic patterns, maybe even a language. Elara turned to him, the faint spark of hope returning to her eyes. Can you decode it? He smiled faintly. If it's a voice, then it's singing in mathematics. I can try. 4 days they worked, running simulations and translations through multiple algorithms. The more they uncovered, the stranger it became. The signal repeated every 11 hours, with slight variations, like a message evolving. Sometimes it whispered Elara's name, other times Kale's. And once, disturbingly, it spoke the name of a crew member who had died 3 years earlier during a solar storm. That night, Elara sat outside the dome, staring at the sky. The Martian horizon was quiet, the twin moons glowing like watchful eyes. She whispered, "Who are you?" The wind shifted, carrying a faint hum, a resonance that wasn't just sound but presence. It was as if the universe had leaned closer to listen. Then, faintly, almost like an echo from her own thoughts, came the reply. We are the memory that watches all beginnings. The following weeks changed everything. The message grew louder, clearer, and the energy patterns surrounding Mars began to distort. Satellites captured waves of light that bent against the rules of physics. Time around the observatory began to fluctuate by fractions of seconds. And through it all, the voice became many voices, layered and melodic, like a cosmic choir calling from the edge of eternity. Kale once described it as the sound of creation remembering itself. But to Elara, it felt personal. Each whisper carried emotion, sorrow, awe, longing. Sometimes, she thought she heard laughter, like stars breathing joy. Other times, it sounded like grief. Then came the vision. She was asleep when the voice entered her dreams. It called her name again, then showed her a place beyond galaxies, a realm of light and shadow, where stars were born from rivers of memory. She saw beings made of radiance, neither flesh nor energy, but both. They were singing, and their song carried countless names, human, alien, forgotten. And then one of them turned to her and said, "You carry what we lost." When she woke, she was crying. Kale noticed the change in her. She barely ate, barely spoke. Her eyes seemed distant, as if she were staring through dimensions unseen. "Elara," he said one evening, gently touching her shoulder. "Whatever this is, it's affecting you. You're hearing more than sound, aren't you?" She hesitated, then nodded. "They're not just speaking. They're remembering us. I think they know who we are." "Who are they?" "I don't know, but they call themselves the Echo. And they say they live at the edge of the universe, where time ends and everything begins again." Kale frowned. "That sounds like mythology." "Maybe," she whispered, "but what if mythology is just memory written in the stars?" When the next transmission came, it was not a whisper. It was a storm. The observatory lights flickered violently as the signal surged through every device, burning out several sensors. The main screen flooded with symbols, fractal spirals that pulsed in golden light. The air itself seemed charged, trembling with invisible electricity. Kale shouted over the noise, "It's overriding our systems." Elara stood still, her eyes locked on the screen. The symbols twisted and rearranged into something familiar, two human figures standing beneath a vast cosmic arch. One of them looked like her. And beneath the image, words formed in luminous script. "We are waiting where the universe touches silence." Then everything went dark. That night, the crew debated abandoning the outpost. They feared radiation bursts, magnetic storms, or worse, that they were witnessing the breakdown of reality. But Elara refused to leave. "They're reaching out," she insisted. "If we go now, we lose the chance to understand what the universe is trying to tell us." Kale stayed by her side, though fear lingered behind his eyes. What if understanding it means losing yourself? She smiled faintly. Maybe that's the price of listening to the cosmos. As Mars rotated into shadow, the stars above shimmered in unfamiliar constellations. The voice returned, not as sound, but as light cascading across the red sands. It painted glowing symbols that pulsed with life, each one whispering their names in harmonic resonance. Elara and Kale stood outside, hand in hand, staring at the spectacle. "Elara Voss," the light murmured, "you heard us before the end. You carried our name in your sleep. You remembered." Tears welled in her eyes. "Remembered what?" "The stars shimmered brighter. That you were once part of us." For 3 days, no one spoke of the light. The crew had withdrawn into uneasy silence, each hiding behind their work, pretending the event had been a glitch or mass hallucination. But the sands around the observatory still glowed faintly at night, shimmering like memory dust. And when the wind passed over them, faint whispers seemed to rise again, soft, rhythmic, calling out names that belonged to no one alive. Elara and Kale continued their research quietly, running analysis after analysis. What they found defied logic. The symbols that had appeared in the light were not random patterns. They formed a coherent mathematical structure, one that hinted at something beyond communication, design. "It's like a language built from physics itself," Kale murmured, eyes fixed on the data. "Every symbol corresponds to a law of reality, gravity, light, entropy. Whoever sent this doesn't just understand the universe. They speak through it." Elara nodded slowly. "They're not outside the universe, they are the universe." Kale looked at her sharply. "You're saying these voices are conscious spacetime?" She smiled faintly. "Why not? We've always imagined gods as voices from the heavens. Maybe they're simply the echoes of existence remembering itself." The following night, Elara couldn't sleep. The observatory hummed softly under the crimson Martian sky. She walked to the edge of the plateau, where the world fell away into the dark expanse of dust and stone. The stars above shimmered with a strange rhythm, like heartbeat pulses through the void. And again the voice came. "Elara Voss." She closed her eyes. "I'm listening." "You once walked among us," the voice said. "You sang when the galaxies were new." Her breath caught. "That can't be true. I'm human." "Your form is human," the voice whispered, "but your memory is not. The universe remembers through you. Every world, Every being carries a spark of the first song. You heard it again because it was yours. Elara sank to her knees, tears blurring her vision. Then why me? Why now? Because the song is fading. The edge of the universe is fraying. And the memory must awaken before silence consumes all. The stars above flickered, once, twice, and then steadied. The voice grew faint, leaving behind only a lingering hum, a vibration that pulsed through her bones. By dawn, Elara had made her decision. She called a meeting. "We're leaving Mars," she said. The crew stared at her in disbelief. "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Amina Reyes, the systems engineer. "Leave for where?" "Earth's not approving any interstellar mission without clearance." "We're not going to Earth," Elara replied. "We're going to follow the signal." Kale's eyes widened. "You mean into deep space?" "Yes." She pointed to the projection hovering above the table. "The signal originates from the outer rim of the known universe, beyond the galactic field. A region we call the Abyss Line. No ship has ever reached it, but I believe the voices are guiding us there." The room fell silent. Someone muttered, "That's suicide." Elara looked at Kale. "Maybe. But if the universe itself is calling, do we really have the right to ignore it?" Kale's answer was simple. "Then I'm going with you." 2 months later, the Odyssey's wing launched from Mars, its engines burning pale blue fire against the darkness. The ship was built for research, not exploration beyond the edge, but Elara's team modified it with quantum drives and energy stabilizers capable of handling interdimensional shifts. As the red planet shrank behind them, Elara watched from the viewport. "Goodbye, Mars," she whispered. "We're heading where even light hesitates." Kale joined her, adjusting his wrist console. "I've mapped the trajectory based on the last signal pattern. If we follow it precisely, it should lead us straight to the coordinates they sent." Elara smiled faintly. "To the edge of the universe." Kale grinned nervously. "Or to our end. Maybe both." The journey stretched across months. Stars blurred into streaks as the ship crossed interstellar space. The crew dwindled, some left in cryosleep, others too afraid to continue once strange phenomena began. The Odyssey's wing moved through regions where time folded. Days passed like seconds, seconds stretched into eternities. The stars around them changed color, their light bending and rippling like fabric. Space itself began to shimmer. Kale recorded everything. "We're approaching something massive," he whispered into the log. "Gravity readings are inconsistent, like we're being pulled and pushed simultaneously. The universe feels alive here." Elara stood beside him, staring out at the endless expanse. Ahead, the stars were thinning. Beyond them was only darkness, pure and unbroken. "The edge," she murmured. Then, faintly, the whisper returned. "You are near." When they crossed into the Abyss Line, reality fractured. The ship's instruments went blind. Light itself twisted into spirals that curved inward. The stars behind them dimmed, and a vast, silvery void unfolded ahead, shimmering like liquid glass. Within it moved shadows of impossible scale, drifting slowly like thoughts of ancient gods. Kale gripped the console. "Elara, I think we're inside their world." She nodded, eyes wide with awe.
"No."
"We're inside memory." The ship floated silently through the glimmering sea. Then, one by one, the whispers began again, thousands of voices overlapping, each calling names, each singing in harmony. The air inside the cabin vibrated, and the walls glowed faintly with patterns of light. Elara stepped forward, her voice shaking. "I can hear them. They're calling us." Kale looked terrified. "But what are they? Spirits? Energy beings?" Elara shook her head slowly. "I think they're what's left of every civilization that ever lived. When a world dies, its memories drift here, to the edge, where time no longer consumes them. So this is the after-echo of creation." They drifted closer to a bright formation ahead, a vortex of radiant light spinning slowly, like a wound in the fabric of space. Within it, Shapes moved, luminous forms that shifted between bodies, stars, and pure energy. One voice rose above the rest, calm and resonant. Elara Voss. Kale Drayan. You came as we remembered. Elara's heart raced. What are you? We are what remains when time forgets. We are every thought that ever reached the stars. You call us the echo. Kale stepped forward, trembling. Why us? Why call our names? Because you carry the seed of the first memory, the voice replied. Long ago, before stars burned, before atoms sang, there was only awareness. From that awareness came the first dream, and from that dream, existence. You are the descendants of that first dream. Elara's mind reeled. So, we are them? Yes, the voice whispered. And soon, all will return. The universe expands towards silence, and when the last light fades, only memory will remain. You are sent to remind the living that they are more than dust. Kale's eyes filled with tears. What happens now? The luminous forms pulsed gently. Now you choose. Return and tell them what you have heard. Or stay and become part of the chorus, a voice from the edge, whispering to the next dreamers who dare to listen. Elara turned to Kale. What would you choose? He hesitated. To live is to forget. To stay is to remember forever. I don't know which is more human. Elara looked back at the light, her heart torn. Maybe the universe doesn't want us to choose one. Maybe it wants us to remember while living. The light shimmered brighter, like a smile made of stars. Then listen well, the voice said, and carry the song home. The vortex brightened, flooding the cabin with warmth. For a moment, Elara saw visions, galaxies forming, civilizations rising and falling, children looking up at alien skies, stars dying in beautiful silence. And through it all, a single melody bound everything together, soft, eternal, full of love. Then the light faded. The ship drifted back into familiar space. The stars reappeared. The instruments flickered on. Kale exhaled shakily. We made it back. Elara smiled faintly, though tears shimmered in her eyes. No, Kale. We returned. Back on Mars months later, no one believed their story. The recordings were corrupted, the data unreadable, the cosmic coordinates empty. But at night, when the winds swept across the plateau, the sands still glowed faintly. And if one listened carefully, beneath the whisper of dust and air, faint voices could be heard, not in words, but in feeling. They called out gently, carrying a promise through the silence. We will remember you when the last light fades. Months passed after their return to Mars, but the world no longer felt the same. To the others, the journey had been a myth, an experiment lost to technical failure and human imagination. To Elara and Kale, however, it was a truth that lived inside their very bones. The voices had not faded. They lingered quietly in the spaces between their thoughts, like distant music only they could hear. At night, when the sky over Mars turned violet, Elara often stood outside the observatory dome and looked upward. The stars seemed closer now, softer somehow, like eyes that finally recognized her. Kale joined her one evening, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. You still hear them, don't you? She nodded slowly. Not words anymore. Just feelings. They're waiting. For what? For us to listen again. He smiled faintly, though his eyes were shadowed. And what do you think they want this time? Elara hesitated. They said the universe is fraying, that the song is fading. Maybe they're warning us. Kale frowned. A cosmic warning? About what? She looked toward the horizon. About forgetting. About what happens when we stop remembering where we came from. 2 weeks later, strange phenomena began. It started with the telescopes. Observatories across Mars and the lunar colonies reported distortions, patterns of light appearing between galaxies, not quite stars, not quite nebulae. They flickered rhythmically, as if pulsing to some unheard beat. When Elara examined the data, her heart skipped. The light patterns matched the structure of the echo's language. They're speaking again, she whispered. Kale leaned over the monitor. From across the universe? Not just across, she said. Through it. They're everywhere. News spread fast. Earth's Space Council demanded explanations. Some accused Elara of fabricating her findings. Others whispered that she'd gone too far, meddling with forces beyond comprehension. But as days passed, more stations confirmed the phenomenon. Entire star fields began to shimmer with coordinated light, signals that resembled human names. Millions of names. It was as if the universe itself had begun to whisper humanity's story back to them. Elara spoke to the council via holographic link. They're not attacking. They're remembering with us. These lights, they're like a cosmic mirror. Every time we speak, build, or dream, it echoes back. The council was divided. Some wanted to shut down all transmissions, fearing contamination. Others saw it as an opportunity, proof that consciousness could span the stars. Kale turned to her after the meeting. They'll never understand. They're afraid of the unknown. Elara sighed. So were we, until the unknown spoke our names. That night, the whispers returned stronger than ever. Elara awoke to a hum vibrating through the floor. The observatory systems were lighting up without command, the energy readings spiking. Kale rushed in, eyes wide. It's them, he said breathlessly. They're broadcasting directly into the quantum field, across every channel. The air shimmered faintly, filled with soft golden particles. The lights of the lab dimmed, and the hum turned into a melody, the same one Elara had heard at the edge of the universe. Then, words formed in the air, woven out of light. The silence grows. The memory weakens. Sing again, children of dust. Elara's breath trembled. They want us to answer. Kale stared at her. How? We're scientists, not prophets. Then we'll answer in the only language we know in truth. They began transmitting mathematical harmonics, encoded frequencies that mimicked the patterns the echo had shown them. Each transmission carried data about humanity, images, songs, languages, DNA sequences. Not to ask for help, but to tell the story of who they were. At first, there was no response. Then, slowly, the stars began to flicker in return, matching their rhythm. Across the solar system, people noticed. Children pointed at the night sky on Earth as constellations blinked softly in unison. Farmers stopped their work on the moon colonies to watch the heavens glow. Even the oceans reflected strange golden ripples, as if the universe was singing across time and water. The voice whispered again, faint, beautiful, eternal. We remember you. Within months, the entire human network was tuned to the phenomenon. Philosophers, poets, and physicists collaborated as never before. They called it the resonance. Some believed it was divine. Others saw it as the next step in evolution, consciousness learning to communicate on a cosmic scale. But as humanity's awareness grew, so did something darker. The resonance began to strain the boundaries of space. Gravitational fields twisted unpredictably. Small moons drifted off course. Energy readings rose to dangerous levels. Kale grew worried. We've opened a doorway we don't understand. If they're merging their memory with ours, maybe reality can't hold both at once. Elara shook her head. No. They're not merging, they're guiding. We just need to listen deeper. He looked at her, fear and love mingling in his gaze. What if listening means losing everything? She smiled softly. Maybe losing everything is how we become whole. One evening, the sky above Mars exploded in color. Waves of light cascaded across the atmosphere, weaving through each other like living rivers. It wasn't destructive, it was alive. Elara and Kale stood on the plateau, bathed in the glow. From the heavens came a vast, gentle voice that seemed to fill not just their ears, but their hearts. The memory awakens. The edge draws near. Do you remember the first song? Elara felt her knees weaken. She heard it again, the same melody from her dreams, the one that had echoed through her when she first touched the light. She whispered, "Yes, I remember." Kale turned to her, astonished. "You remember the beginning?" I don't know how, she said softly, but it's like it was always there, hidden in my blood, my breath, my heartbeat. The universe isn't outside us, Kale. It is us. Every cell, every thought, a fragment of its story. He reached for her hand. Then maybe we've been the voices all along. Elara smiled, tears glistening. Yes. And maybe we're the ones whispering back now. As the cosmic light grew stronger, the entire colony emerged from their shelters to witness it. Children laughed, elders wept, and every living soul felt the same pulse, not fear, but belonging. For the first time, humanity wasn't just looking at the stars. They were part of them. Kale whispered, "Do you think this is the end?" Elara looked up at the endless expanse, where galaxies shimmered like thoughts across a dream. "No," she said. "This is what beginnings look like." The voice came again, gentle as breath. "When silence comes, remember our names as we remember yours." The lights rippled one last time, then slowly faded into the stillness of the night. The air was quiet, but it wasn't empty. It was full, with meaning, with memory, with the invisible echo of everything that had ever existed. Elara closed her eyes and whispered, "We hear you." And from somewhere beyond time, the universe whispered back, "And we hear you still." Months passed since the resonance began. Humanity had changed quietly, almost imperceptibly, but the change was real. The songs of the universe now pulsed not just in Martian skies, but across the Earth, the Moon, and the farthest colonies. Scientists, poets, and dreamers had learned to interpret the harmonics of light and sound, and through it, humanity began to understand itself in ways it never had before. Elara walked through the observation hall, her fingers tracing the holographic charts of the resonance. The walls shimmered faintly as the energy readings hummed in sync with her heartbeat. She felt Kale's presence before he spoke. "They're calling more strongly now," he said softly. "I think they want everyone to hear." Elara nodded. "It's the final phase, isn't it? They've been preparing us to understand before it all becomes too much." Outside the dome, the sky was alive, not with stars alone, but with the memory of every star that had ever been. Light curved in impossible arcs, rivers of luminescence spiraled through space, and across the surface of Mars, shadows of radiant forms danced like living specters. The voices returned, thousands of them intertwined, layered in harmony beyond comprehension. But this time they were not just whispers. They were a symphony. All that has been, all that will be, all that remembers awaken. Elara closed her eyes, feeling the vibration of the song inside her chest. The memory of creation, the first dream, was no longer distant. She could feel it in every breath, every pulse of life around her. Kale took her hand. "Are you ready?" She nodded, though words could not capture the depth of what she felt. "Yes. We're ready to remember with them, and to let them remember us." The resonance expanded. The energy field surrounding Mars became a portal of memory. The luminous shapes that had once drifted at the edge of the universe now coalesced into forms recognizably alive. Faces of humans long forgotten, animals from vanished worlds, beings whose names had never been spoken aloud. They all shimmered with the light of existence, singing together with the voices that had called Elara and Kale across space. And then, the voice of the echo rose above all others, calm and infinite. "The song has returned. The children of dust remember. And now, the universe may awaken anew." Elara felt her consciousness expand. It was as if every moment of every life she had ever known, her parents, her childhood friends, her colleagues, was merging with the resonance of every being that had ever lived. She could feel their fear, their joy, their hope, and she understood for the first time what it meant to truly remember. Kale's hand tightened around hers. "I feel it too," he whispered. "We're part of them, and they're part of us." "Yes," Elara breathed. "We are the memory and the dream. We are the song." Across the solar system, humanity watched in awe as the sky became a living tapestry. The resonance reached beyond Mars, spilling onto Earth, illuminating every city, every desert, every ocean with gentle pulses of golden light. People fell silent, overwhelmed by the beauty and the enormity of it all. Children laughed as the auroras danced above them. Scientists recorded patterns that would take lifetimes to decode. And poets wrote lines that tried, and failed, to capture what could not be captured. But the people did not need to understand fully. They only needed to listen. The universe itself seemed to lean closer, breathing slowly, singing through every living soul. And then, as if in response to humanity's collective memory, the voices spoke together. From the edge of all things, the song returns. The light that fades is remembered. You are never alone. Elara and Kale stood on the Martian Plateau, the world around them glowing with golden threads of memory. They did not speak. There were no words that could match the enormity of what they felt. Instead, they closed their eyes, allowing the resonance to flow through them. Every cell, every thought, every heartbeat was a note in the eternal symphony. The echo spoke one final time, soft and gentle, as if embracing the whole of existence. Now go. Carry the song. And when the last light fades, remember, the universe remembers you. The sky began to quiet, the energy settling like calm water after a storm. But the resonance remained, woven into the fabric of life itself. Humanity had been awakened to a truth it could not yet fully articulate, that they were never truly separate from the universe, that every being, every thought, every memory was connected in a vast, unbroken chain. Elara turned to Kale, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of lingering resonance. "Do you feel it?" she asked. "I do," he said, smiling. "Forever." She looked up at the stars, or perhaps through them, beyond them, and whispered her thanks. "Thank you for calling us home." The universe replied in silence. But it was not empty. It was full. Full of memory, full of song, full of everything that had ever been, and everything that would ever be. And somewhere, at the edge of existence, the echo waited patiently, knowing that as long as there were dreamers, there would always be voices to hear them, whispering their names. Elara and Kale walked back to the observatory, hand in hand. They did not speak of what they had seen. Words could not hold it. But they carried it with them, in their hearts, their minds, and in every breath they took. The resonance had become humanity's secret and its gift. A reminder that even at the edge of the universe, even when the stars themselves grew silent, memory and song would persist. And in that song, no one would ever truly be alone.